Hey guys, King of Charms here. Today I'll be your judge, your jury, and your analyst. And today I bring to you a ridiculous 13-0. 13-0, 2 5-0s, and then a 3-0, and then a 3-0 before it was ended by getting literally hard countered. So 13-0, it's a really strong team, and for good reason. This is actually the most common team according to YTX. Like, YTX Pikachu is an amazing person, and because of that, he puts out these data sheets, and thanks to his data, this is the most Empoleon Drifblim process. So Drifblim and Frostus, either one can be your safe switch. I mostly use Frostus as a safe switch depending on the scenario, but it is the most common team. Along with that, all three components of this team are the most used leads as well as the most used Pokemon in any team. Empoleon Drifblim Core is really good for some odd reason, even though it's like, yeah, it's kind of odd, but it's really good because the reason why it's odd is because Gastrodon and Bastiodon, but I haven't seen as many Gastrodon Bastiodon cores as I really thought, so it's like my brain's kind of just like scratching my head. But this is the most common team, so that doesn't mean you'll see it a lot, but by data wise, out of 1200 battles, which is a really large sample size, these are used a lot, and you will factually see either Drifblim, Frostus, or Empoleon running around like the plague in the Sinnoh Cup. So, with this, I hope you enjoyed this sweet 13-0 shoutcast. It was nuts. I didn't expect this team to do this well, but this team, if you're really good with energy management, you have a lot of, like, if you're willing to risk shields and you're really good at finding unorthodox win conditions, or you just have a whole really huge coconuts. Your huevos are large. That means your eggs. You know, your huevos are large. If you have huge huevos, this team is for you. Anyways, my mental health tip of the day. So, you know what's common? This team. But you know what else is really common? Self-care. So, people often define self-care as simply making sure you exercise and get a diet. I have it differently. So, I served 7 years in the United States Air Force. And self-care is just this really blanket statement that says you should just take care of yourself, right? Well, at the same time, with self-care, you want to build something called your resilience. Resilience is how much crap you can take before you go to the deep end. And trust me, as someone that's diagnosed with PTSD and for some reason I was diagnosed with PTSD co-occurring with MDD. MDD is in remission right now, which is really great. But I have literally worked tooth and nail to become what I would consider normal. Because for those of you that do have mental illness, depending on which one you have, you know, your world isn't really considered normal. You have your own, like, considered normal. But that's also because I developed my resiliency so far, so high. And of course, I do what like self-care is great. But go to the next level and make sure you build your resilience. Make sure you stay mindful. Make sure you stay present. Build your mental strength. Do that by challenging yourself, making sure your stress is as low as possible so you can get through the day, but at the same time, overcome the obstacles and adversities in your life. Because everything ends when you stop breathing, or, yeah, literally when you stop breathing. There's always a new tomorrow to where things can get better. The keyword is can. And it's holding on to that hope of things can. That you will and can overcome your adversities. Become more and more resilient every day so that you can become a crazy, bald-headed military veteran like King of Charmander is here and just absolutely be angry at tapping at your phone day in and day out and hoping that this game will finally be fixed one of these days, even though it's been 3 freaking years. I'm just kidding. But yes, I hope you enjoyed that little rant. Yes, build your resilience. You know, work through what you got. If you need some serious help, remember, there are mental health professionals. Not me, because I won't give you therapy, but there's a lot of professionals out there that are licensed and good at their jobs. I hope they are, because I'm not gonna lie, not everyone should be in this career field. Yeah, some people in this career field as a mental health clinician, just like kind of, how are you should. Some people, I'm just gonna keep it at that. Some people shouldn't be therapists, even though they're licensed. That's what's scary. They just shouldn't be therapists. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed that mental health tip. Enjoy this sweet 13-0. Yes, this team went 13-0. 2 5-0s and 3-0 and 3-0 after that. It's insanely powerful, and these mods have been featured in multiple different metas, so it should be pretty easy to use. And without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so here's this ridiculous 13-0 shoutcast. I'm going to show you a few battles. I'm going to show you the 5-0 and then the 10-0 and then just the first like 5 battles from the 5-0, because I think those are the really great showcase, because I play out of a lot of losing leads, etc. As you see, this is a terrible lead. I love your Shiny Lucario, but this is a terrible lead for my Empoleon. So I'm going to switch into my Frostless. Frostless is generally your safe switch, just because what happens is hopefully you can draw out their safe switch, break some shields, etc. As you see here, we have a Frostless into Gastrodon, and I'm not sure why they switched into this, because we beat this one pretty hard. This might have been a miss switch on their part, because ideally you'd want to keep Gastrodon alive. So yeah, so I'm kind of like scratching my head. I'm like, you have Lucario, you have a Gastrodon, what can you have in the back? As you see, they elect a shield. What's going to happen here is I'm going to blow like all of my shields just so that I can like take it. Or like, as you see here, I call the bait, and I'm like, okay, you know what? They might not be trying to Earth Power me, so I'm just gonna let it go. On here, I elect to let Frostless go, and then what I plan on doing is I'm going to farm this Gastrodon. So I'm gonna farm this Gastrodon, and then with shield advantage, I think Drifblim should be okay. So as you see, Drifblim's going to try to farm it down, and we get a Frostless. I'm going to Shadow Ball here. So I'm going to, well, attempt to Shadow Ball, the fake Shadow Ball. And then I'm hopefully going to break a shield. And then what's going to happen here is I hopefully break the second shield. And then I just have a humongous 2 shield advantage against this Lucario. And then I swap into Empoleon, hoping that I catch a move. And I do, which is awesome. Because we double resist Avalanche. And now our opponent is like, oh crap, I'm down 2 shields. And this man has freaking an Empoleon. They're trying to get the Shadow Ball, or they're going to Avalanche me again just to take energy. But this is actually bad on their part. I really think they should just switch to Lucario. However, that would have been dangerous anyways, because I still get a move off on Lucario anyways. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to fully farm down this Frostless. Lucario has no energy anyways. And as you see here, I'm actually farming it down fully, and I still have a shield. So in comes the Gastrodon, and all I'm going to do is double Hydro Cannon for the W here. We're going to double Hydro Cannon for the fact that we freaking farmed down that Gastrodon, and we farmed down the Drifblim. And all we're going to do is make this Shiny Lucario really, really wet. It never gets to a power-up punch. Sorry, puppy, you don't get to a pup. You don't pup me down. You don't ball out either. This is not Dragon Ball Z. Well, Dragon Ball Super, like, you know, Hadouken, whichever one you want to call it, Energy Ball, whichever the heck not, and that's GG. So the first one's pretty sweet. As you see there, I kind of get why they didn't switch into Frostless for the mirror, because I would have energy advantage, but at the same time, holy crap, that was a terrible lead. So that's win number 1. Then we have win number 2. So for win number 2, hopefully it's going to be a little less sweaty. I say more, but hopefully it's going to be less sweaty, because I'm like, okay, let's see what happens. So we got legend on legend action. I forgot to mention, these battles for this 13-0 are pretty freaking sweaty. We get a Drifblim into our Empoleon. So this isn't terrible for us. What we're going to do here is we're going to they switch into Lucario as a safe switch, and we switch into Drifblim. Now, the reason I switch into Drifblim is because of the fact that I have a little more pressure here. I'm going to shield this one. It might be a pup, but I don't want to get Shadow Balled. So it is a power-up punch, but that's okay, because we're going to bait them with Icy Wind. We're going to take away the fact that you have a +1 and just put you in regular attack range again. Hopefully, I do break a shield, and we do. It's more pressure on them to shield, because if it is a Shadow Ball and it goes through shields anyways, then you lose a whole Lucario. Not only that, your Drifblim loses lead against Empoleon. So I'm gonna shield this one too, because I'm sensing, okay, you're gonna ball out. There's Shadow Ball out, and then all I'm gonna do in this scenario is I'm going to attempt to farm down completely. They shouldn't be able to get to another Shadow Ball, and then I have a ton of energy for that Empoleon, and I still have 2 healthy mons. I fire an Icy Wind, hoping to grab a shield. And this was a bonehead move. You'll see why. Because they don't fall for it. I should have Shadow Balled. Shadow Balling would have been the play here. Now they're totally going to shield. However, because we got the -1, it's not all that bad. Because we still got a whole Empoleon, and we still got a freaking Frostless in the back. So, Got 2 whole mons that are very, very healthy. They're going to have to blow their energy here or they're going to get Shadow Balled. And as you see, I tried to catch a Hydro Cannon, but it's okay. They switch out immediately because what happens is their Drifblim is debuffed anyways. Or, yeah, it's, well, no, they switched out, so it's not debuffed. But as you see here, where it's just, I'm getting a little confused because they have a Drifblim and I have a Drifblim. So, yeah. It was very confusing. But anyways, as you see here, all we're going to do is eat the Shadow Ball. Then we're going to farm down this Drifblim with Frostless. And our opponent is going to realize, oh, I am screwed. This is GG's. Yes, sir. This is GG's. I'll be able to live a Hydro Cannon and I should be able to get to a Shadow Ball. And I'll barely live in a red, but Shadow Ball should KO at this range. If not, that's perfectly fine. I'll go ahead and then I can just Hex down with Drifblim. And Drifblim's still pretty healthy. They would need 2 Hydro Cannon. They would need a Hydro Cannon me again. If somehow, some way, I don't ball out. And when I ball out, it doesn't kill. So, totally balling out. And yes, as I expected, at least I hope I know, this KOs the Empoleon. And that's GG's. Win number 2. The Drifblim freaking Empoleon core is everywhere. I don't know why. Like, it's good, but it's just like, okay. Because 1 dice to Gastrodon, 1 dice to Bastiodon. So, yeah. But, anyways, I think the reason why this team works, and you'll see it shortly why. As you see here, we get Empoleon into what I was talking about, Bastiodon. I'm like, oh, hello, sir. Sir or ma'am, I want to kill you. And as you see, they switch into a Cresselia. So, you already know what King of Charmer is like doing. I ball. Hella ball. I ball out. I ball out, you know, cash money. Yeah. Because I'm from the Bay Area, so before you're saying like I'm just trying to like pretend, no, I say dude hella for a reason. I am from Cali, and if you are from Cali too, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So we're gonna ball out, all balls, no mercy. Or if you could throw a ball, they probably won't shield. Or what's that dodgeball reference? If you could dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. And as you see, they did not dodge the ball this time around. They ate it, and I'm not sure why you would risk it anyways, because look at how much damage it does against Cresselia. Did a huge amount of damage. I will shield this Moonblast. And then we're going to have a lot of energy by farming down this Cresselia. Even if they have a counter to Drifblim on the back, I'll still be able to move off, and I'll be able to even shield scenario. Bad thing in here is that they will be able to get to a little bit of farm depending on what they have in the back. And, of course, as I predicted, a Bastiodon comes in. I'm like, alright, so I'm totally just going to ball out here. All balls. And then, as you see, we still have our Empoleon to match against Bastiodon. We're kind of in danger, though, because we're down a shield. So even though I resist, if Frostless loses the back row, I'm in trouble. And as you see, it is a Gastrodon. So I'm in a lot of trouble here. So what happens in this scenario is that, yes, I do beat you to avalanche damage, etc. But this is going to be a little rough because you have shield advantage. So depending, I have to call a bait because if I get earth powered, I die. So I got to be very careful in this scenario. As you see, they get their move off. And I'm like, you might be trying to bait me. You might be trying to bait me. And I predict correctly. I'm like, okay, you know what? The 69420 is going to come for the floor. And I'm like, whew. And it didn't get the debuff. It's good that they didn't debuff me because I need Frostless to be as healthy as possible. Because Mudslap still does a decent chunk of damage. As you see here. We're going to be able to get to another Avalanche. And then, as you see, this Mudslap that goes through won't register because Gastrodon will go down. And then we should be able to switch in and KO the Bastiodon with Empoleon. Because Empoleon is still so healthy, one Flamethrower definitely won't kill. As you see, I'm frantically smashing my phone whenever, like, you know, when Go Battle Like happens and you just get pissed off and you want to throw your phone halfway across the room. That's exactly what I'm doing right now. As you see, you'll be able to live a Flamethrower pretty comfortably. It only does neutral damage, and it only takes me to half HP. I will get to the Hydro Cannon. I will fire the Stream of Water, and before they can let me get the glory by taking out your freaking Bastiodon and causing, yes, on this day, I chose violence. Unfortunately, violence didn't happen there. 6660. That's funny. Not really. 666 is a dangerous number, and you know why. For those of you that love Halloween, you know exactly why I'm talking about. All right, so as you see, those battles were pretty sweaty so far, and killing Bastiodon. It's always nice when you murk Bastiodon, you know what I mean? You always get all the glory. I mean, this is the only cup where I will factually use Bastiodon just for content, and we get legend on legend action. So we get Empoleon into Drifblim. Gee, you know, this matchup happens a lot. So what we're gonna do here is we are going to see them switch into Empoleon. I have a waterfall ahead, so I'm like, let's see. I can give up switch here, but there's no point because of the fact that I have 2 of my back row that aren't going to do necessarily well against this Empoleon. So, what we're going to do here is I'm going to play this a little fancy. So, even though they switched into Empoleon as a safe switch, what I plan on doing here is I'm going to try to... I need to kind of be a little fancy. Keyword is try. Because this is insanely dangerous. I need to be very careful. Because what happens here is that... hopefully I measure this quickly. As you see, I'm gonna eat this Hydro Cannon, and I'm predicting like, okay, you know what? Nothing should come through, because if it did, I'd be in danger. But no waterfall went through that shield, which is good. I mean, went through that, so it's good. So this should KO, and then I should be able to keep alignment. If a waterfall went through, I was a little scared because what they can do is they can shield and keep alignment. Right now, what we want is to keep alignment. We know we have the Drifblim coming in. I will swap into my own Drifblim. And then here's where I kind of misplay pretty hard. So, or not really misplay. I just lose the virtue of CMP. So what's going to happen here is that this is probably an Icy Wind. And I'm going to eat the Icy Wind, but I'm going to shoot the Icy Wind at them. So what happens here is that this puts pressure on my opponent, because what my opponent has to do, they have to make their life choices. So they have to blow their energy early. They have to blow their energy, but I want to farm this Drifblim, because they're going to have to shield this Icy Wind. They have the decision. They can shield this, or they can let their Drifblim blow and save their shield for their Pokemon in the back. So what is it? They let it go, and it happens to be a Lucario, which is terrible. Now, the reason this is terrible, Shadow Ball will OKO Frostless. And Empoleon gets trucked by those counters. So, I have to make a 10,000 IQ play here. I have to bait. I have to call the bait. Because if they bait me, then it's GG's. As you see, I fire Avalanche at the same time. I lose CMP. So I'm like, okay, this has to be a pup. And it is a pup. If they ball out, they got the win con. But thankfully, they didn't ball out. So we got the win con. So as you see here, I'm going to fire off the Avalanche. Even if this is resisted, Lucario is very squishy. So as you see, it does a ton of damage still. And all I have to do is just Powder Snow down. I don't have to throw a move. All I have to do is shield this. And that Powder Snow goes through, will register. And this will KO. And that's GG's. So far, we making big moves. It's the big 4-0 so far. So I'm like, after this point, I was like, all right, cool. Can I 5-0 with this team? This is the most common team, according to data, in the Sinnoh Cup. So, hopefully, this ABB team, double Frostlet, Empoleon double Ghost, the most common team, will come out with the W. And as you see here, I'm like, okay, please, 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 give it to me. Give me the W. Please. Well, actually, it's funny because as you see, we win the lead, but this isn't even it's not a great lead, because if they debuff with Crunch, it puts a lot of danger on me. So I'm gonna, and this is the regular Drapion, so then it's not going to, the Shadow Crunch damage isn't gonna, well, it's bulkier. So I'm trying to be a little careful here. I don't shield the first Crunch. The reason you don't shield the first one is because if they get defensive up like that, you're like, oh crap, okay. So we're gonna fire off Hydro Cannons. They're likely going to shield. However, Drifblim, Drapion gets to its crunches incredibly quickly. Remember, King of Charmanders doesn't count. He kind of relies on his conscious, which is going to kind of screw me, I think, for this one. I will shield here. I want to fire the second Hydro Cannon. So there's 2 ways I could play out this lead. One, I can let my Empoleon go, or they give up switch and switch into Toxicroak. And I'm like, why would you give up switch? Because catching this isn't great. Because when there's Empoleon, usually there's Drifblim. So I can literally just farm the unholy crap out of this poor Toxicroak. So it's like, I was really confused. I'm like, why would you do that? Because that Drapion in the back is about to eat the winds of the north. You know what I mean? If you watch Game of Thrones, you know, the north, Winterfell. Thy opponent is about to feel the rage of Winterfell. If you haven't watched Game of Thrones, please watch it. It really is a great series. Except the season finale, I'm not going to say anything. I will say nothing. I will say nothing. But it's an amazing show. And as you see here, I will eat the crunch because my idea here is to just farm down this Drapion. I'm going to farm the unholy living hell out of your soul. And this is kind of funny because me and our opponent kind of stop. We're like, oh wait, that didn't kill. We're like, whoops, Yeah. But here's the game plan. I am going to farm the unholy living godding crud out of this freaking Drapion. So as you see here, we're snowing. Just, you know, let it snow, let it snow. I will shield this. This is probably an Aqua Tail. And I'm like, you know what? It's not. And I called it correctly. What we're going to do is farm down this Drapion. And you have an angry Frostless in the back. And they sent out a Gallade. Don't ask why I didn't Shadow Ball. Don't ask why I didn't Shadow Ball. I saw the typing and I'm like, oh crap, I should have balled. Shadow Ball kills at this range. I'm like, what the hell am I doing? The good thing is that my brain kind of went to the second win condition and they'll never get to a Leaf Blade. I should be able to get to a second move. That energy doesn't register before you can get off, so they can't CMP anyways. And that's GG's. And I still have a whole Empoleon in the back. So they had to blow their energy here. And somehow if I don't KO, I still have Empoleon. So I have plenty of win cons. But instead of, you know, the Hadouken, instead of balling out, like I didn't shoot the 3-pointer. You know what I mean? I didn't step back 3-pointer and go boom. As you see, this is the first 5-0. But despite that, you still had many win cons. And this team got me a 5-0. This was the first 5-0, and it was really freaking sweet. I was super excited. So I was like, you know what? Why not keep going? We went 5-0. So can we go further? As you see here, 8-7-3-8. This team did, in fact, go 13-0 before it got hard countered. Yes, it was bound to happen. I ran smack down into a Gastrodon double poison, which is really ironic because that's the ABB team I featured. And I was like, oh, I just got hard countered. That's funny. That's freaking funny. Not really. I was really pissed. I was like, are you serious? My legendary 13-0 run ends by getting hard countered because, you know, double dark poison kind of beats my back row because of crunch, etc. Yeah. We get Empoleon into Empoleon. So for this 10-0, we have the mirror. However, my Empoleon is mighty. Not really. So the thing is, mine's is a rank 1. So I'm already expecting to lose CMP. So the way I fix this is I try to get a Hydro Cannon through, or I try to fire at the right interval where they won't catch. They won't fire, and they fire at the same interval as me. And I'm like, really, bro? Really, dude? Really, dude? For real, though? So all we're going to do is I'm going to fire, just mirror them off. And then hopefully maybe they won't fire on my interval, but this is a very, very sweaty mirror. My Empoleon's a rank 1 though, so I'm like, you know what? My Empoleon's cooler. So as you see, we're going to fire off our Hydro Cannon. They get that waterfall through, but I'm hoping they just shield because I want to farm them. And I would rather just commit shields. And they do happen to shield. I switch to preserve Empoleon for a swap if I have to sack it. And we get Drifblim into this Empoleon. I will shield. I don't want to eat a Hydro Cannon, and at the same time, why they're down, they're in the zero. So my game plan here is to just keep this advantage, and hopefully maybe I didn't jack this up because I gave up alignment, I gave up switch, and we get Drifblim on Drifblim. So this wasn't bad. So this is where I misplayed. You know, why am I going for the Shadow Ball when they're clearly going to get to the Icy Wind first? This was stupid. This was bone. I don't know why the hell I did this. Should have clearly just went for the freaking Icy Wind. If you think, yes, you know, if they switch it at the same, like, yeah, I was like, at this point, I was like, oh my god. But I have other ideas. So I can Icy Wind here, and then, yeah, my ideas kind of went out the window. I was like, really, dude? Really, dude? Like, did that just happen? However, that's not all bad, because you know what? All King of Charm has had to do since you gave up Switch is all I gotta do is double up on Avalanche. You don't have enough energy on that Drifblim for a Shadow Ball. So all I gotta do is rain living hell on you. You will feel the power of the North, and I will drop all these rocks on your freaking soul. As you see, just double up on the Avalanches. Both of them should go off. And then I should take out this Gastrodon, and then this one in the back will KO that hot air balloon. It's like Attack on Titan, you know what I mean? If you watch Attack on Titan, I love myself some Attack on Titan. You know, what you call it? Marley, you know, they got the hot air balloon. So, you know, you got like Driplims in the air. No, wait, that's a perfect reference. Because, you know, you got the Driplims in the air. And they're like the balloons that Marley come. Because, you know, Reiner and them are like coming to like take down Aaron in them. And yeah. Yeah. And anyways, here is the sweet 10-0. Overall, this team went 13-0. Very powerful. Incredible ABB team, and I can see why it is literally the most common team according to data. And as you see, this team actually got me back to veteran after tanking horribly in Master League Classic because I was doing it for content. I refused to use Dialga or Zacian. And as you see here, just to go, I go to my journal and poof, there is the 5-0. There is the 5-0 that I will claim, and there's the 5-0 before then. So it did 10-0, 13-0 overall. I hope you enjoyed it. This team is very powerful and will get you W's in the Sinnoh Cup. It's really strong, outside of getting hard countered, of course. And that's GG's. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. These battles are really sweaty. As you see, there's a lot of things you can do against the mirror, whether you win or lose lead. If you end up being really fancy, you can come out with a lot of win conditions. This team is insanely powerful, and it got me back. I think plus 250 ELO. So plus 250 ELO using this team. So love it. It did really well. Most common team, and it lives up to its name as being extremely powerful. And I can see a reason why it is the most used team and why all three of these components are being used. Strangely enough, I don't see as many Bastiodons nowadays, and which is weird because Bastiodon will truck this ABB team's back row. Essentially, this is an ABB team. It is Empoleon double ghost, but it got 13-0. So as you see in practice and performance, it did really well in the Sinnoh Cup, and I'm having a lot more. This cup is kind of RPSC, but as you see, if you're really good at finding unorthodox win conditions, and you have a lot, like I mentioned in the beginning, you have huge huevos, you have big coconuts, you can come out with a lot of win cons, and just with, like you saw with the back-to-back avalanche, you can come out with a lot of W's, just because Frostless 2 shield strat still reigns supreme, and all three of these mons can do a ridiculous amount of damage. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the shoutcast. Hopefully this team gives you a huge idea of what to use, because they are the three most used Pokemon in the Sinnoh Cup, statistically. They're literally the three most used Pokemon. Do me a huge favor, please like and subscribe. It's totally free. Next to these two Trimans right here, you see that little sub box to the bottom right? If you subscribe, you see that little box, you could easily put your mouse over it and subscribe from over there. Only takes like 5 seconds. Liking and subscribing is totally free. Really appreciate my current subscribers. I really appreciate all of you that have stayed with me through thick and thin from back in the day till now. I appreciate you. Hopefully you're all having a wonderful day. And good luck on your Go Battle League sets, and I will see you on the next video.